Okay, I'm in the mood for a little late night sync research. But I want to take a break from Freaked, partly because I think that it will help for my weird sync read of Freaked if we look at Mac and Me first. But also, I just want to keep this really as free-flowing and non-linear as possible for some reason, and I'm just feeling like jumping into Mac and Me, so let's launch yet another free-floating analysis thread here and experience a little bit of this movie. This is very much active research, like Freaked, so I don't know actually. I think there's like a ton of lore surrounding Mac and Me's production. I don't really know much of that stuff. I mean, I did research it a bit, but it hasn't really stuck in my brain yet, if you know what I mean. Bye-bye, Leo. Let's see here. Is that good? Yeah, it's fine. I love this Orion Pictures logo. I find it very cosmic. Well, and then we fade into a cosmos, so there's a nice continuity there between logo and image. This logo I also really love. It's so 1980s with this cursive in the middle. And it does look basically like a McDonald's branded thing from the outset. So we do kind of have a interesting triangle there. We can pull this. A specific grouping of stars there. It's not just the big or little dipper, is it? I don't really know much about constellations, I'm afraid. Other than the Red Twins constellation. Drum roll. Or fill. Is it a roll or a fill when it's used for comic effect? Rim shot. That's the word I'm looking for. Took a minute, but I got it in the end. So, okay, we're meeting our family of aliens here. Isn't this score wonderful? It's Alan Silvestri, right? Which is so... we'll get to this in a second. Which is so weird because of his connection to Back to the Future, but then also because he kind of... I think he kind of quotes himself a little bit at times in this film. Let's keep an ear out for that, maybe. So, okay, so here's the... You can see how deeply the product placement is integrated into this film already, because these are like little Coca-Cola geysers. I don't know if it's what we're supposed to think exactly. I guess it's just that Coke... It's interesting, it's already about correspondence in a way. Coke on Earth resembles, in its chemical structure, whatever this naturally occurring substance is that these creatures have evolved to drink on their home world. The design of these things. I know it's really like Mac and Me is kind of having a little bit of a moment online. I think maybe that's because James Rolfe reviewed it, but also I think we're just kind of getting into that era of 80s barrel scraping, you know? Or not era precisely, but I don't know, just layer of cultural refuse or something. We've mined all the obvious properties. Now it's time to be obsessed with the weird knockoffs. Well, so everyone loves to make fun of these alien designs, but I really, I mean, and yes, I get it, they're hysterical, but I really love them. I think they're so strange looking. Like, it's very uncanny valley because they're quite humanoid, but then they are like babies in a way, or maybe like old people. I can't quite decide. But that's an interesting, an interesting aspect of the projection space surrounding them. Maybe is that they seem to embody both youth and decrepitude at the same time. Interesting union of opposites there, because it is about time, past and future in some way. Maiden, crone, or prince, and king, or I don't know what the all the corresponding archetypes are, but do these impossible head movements. So, okay, so whoops. They throw a rock at it. I guess that's a reasonable reaction to have if a robot from another planet just lands in your backyard. EHU40A. I might run that stuff at some point, but I want to do that now. Is she basically saying, like, you idiot, like, why did you throw a rock at it? It now you've agitated it. This makes me think of. I'm not even gonna say it. Keep going. Okay, there's an explosion there. I think this score is horrible now, by the way. It's like really into the electronic part, but this kind of like, there's comedic, farcical things with robots happening. Music is not really good for me. Oops. There's not much sign. There are not very many indications of like technology on this planet. So I wonder if they recognize this as a robot or if they think it's an animal, probably. So it's interesting. It's it is some kind of a decision, right? Like, these aliens do not live in cities, apparently, or maybe they do, and these particular aliens are just camping out in the local, whatever the equivalent of like a national park is on their homeworld or something. I guess we don't really know. It's funny to take this movie like this seriously, but we're going to be taking it way more seriously than this, because I think this is another one of these films that is... it's just part of the constellation, but it's... I think there's some very particular Christly energy in this film. But so anyway, sorry, getting back to what we were talking about here, I think we can assume that this is just the state of life on this planet. It's not developed. So they live close to the Earth, which is also a Pepsi fountain or Coke fountain or whatever. And so then this is their first taste of modern technology. And it's, it's an instrument of Western science. So I do feel like we have a little bit of like the conscious mind or the left hemisphere, and then some kind of paganized right hemisphere, the gnomes that live in the Coke planet, close to nature thing. In some weird way. Okay, moving on. And then they get like ghost vacuumed into this thing, which becomes an important like piece of information later when they trap one of them in a vacuum. So wait, what planet is that? A planet? Gosh, I don't know anything about this stuff. I wonder if any of my friends who are more involved in astrology could tell me if that is an actual planet. Or astronomy. I don't mean to exclude real scientists. I'm just more interested in the symbolic nature of planets and stars and so on. I don't really care very much about their physical properties. I think that's kind of dumb. Just kidding. I do think it's pretty interesting, actually. I just get aggressive because no one wants to take the symbolic side of it seriously. But yeah, so it is Silvestri. Great. So, I make stupid jokes about it. Okay, so now we're landing on Earth. I don't really like planes or airports, I've got to say. Just personally, I don't like traveling that much. I did a lot of it in my life. But a lot of it wasn't precisely elective, I have nice memories of airports as well. I think it's just, you tend to remember the traumatic parts of, especially of like teenage and childhood years and so on. Okay. I forgot how weird all this is right away. What is even going on here? Is there dialogue happening?
Closing pressure valve. Hydraulic system.
I don't know what the status is of like Mac and Me copyright stuff. I guess we'll find out since I was running that at 1x. Oops. In the interest of being able to salvage some of this if that isn't working, I'm going to take it to 0.5. And also I think it's actually better for analysis to run at these slow speeds.
Deactivated.
So, since I don't really understand what's going on, let's just note the obvious properties here. We have 3 figures, I guess, dressed in blue hazard suits. So, we saw the aliens naked and integrated with nature. And here we see, this is our first real image of humans, right? We saw the people behind the glass, I guess. But pretty much, these are like the first big figures we're looking at. And we see that they're integrated into a technological environment, and one in which although they're kind of integrated into it in a sense, they're also very isolated from it because they're in these hazard suits or whatever it is that they are. Things that I notice include things like this. At the moment, I don't see them constellating in any way. It's just objects I've seen constellate elsewhere, so anytime I see them anywhere, I have weird feelings about them now, but that's my problem and hopefully not your problem yet. Or maybe I should say, maybe hopefully it will be your problem or is your problem, because it issues strange and desirable effects in the end. Police officer over here, red alarm. So, a little bit. Because I've watched this movie many, many times, I know, of course, that there are quite impressive matches and so on in this. So I'm reading things like this in the context of the material we're going to see later. Yeah, I think there's a bit of activity starting.
What? Matt, you hear that? No. Electrical system activated. There it is again.
So now we also kind of have a weird ghost in the machine metaphor potentially circling around here. I see ties and glasses and white and black and sort of logos resonating bald men or whatever, and I do think North Tower. We have a clock. Can't really make out what the hands are doing there. I don't remember there being anything interesting on the clocks, but we'll see. I am very interested in what's going on here, however. For a reason that has to do with Hellraiser. In Hellraiser 3, we see just this sort of pairs of diagonal squares like this. And I find them now Atomic Kid resonant. Sort of similar to how it works in the Dawnwood painting. There's a sense of sort of movement outwards like that. And so here they appear with these pretty segmented pairs of rectangles, right? And so there it is, like, two instances of red twins, each marked out with a red element. Yeah, and then... Yeah, right. So... Yellow, yellow, yellow. It's fiery stuff. Yellow there. Also clock. North Towery. Mustache, so yeah, North Towery. That's a North Towery element. There's a TV. Technology. A little bit. A bit. Cabling installation. So, whoops. Still fall for this every time. Where's my pen here? I grew up in Israel, and so I'm very used to looking at Hebrew text, and I think that these ends look an awful lot like... Whoops. Ugh. like olives, you know? Oh, finding it very hard to draw accurately tonight. There is a 9 and a 1 there, a double 2. That can't actually say RTC, can it? I don't think so. I think maybe that's a PT. What would it be? Something cabling. Is that a red phone? I think that's a red phone and then an aluminum microphone. So, I find that matchy. We said that this was pretty interesting. SN. South Tower, North Tower. Weird. Yeah, I think that's a G. RTG. Well, weird little fragments of things, you know? I don't know. Let's see here.
See you again.
Stuff like this drives me pretty nuts. Lots of weird numbers going on.
Looks like we've got a malfunction on the app sampler feed.
Yeah, clock like a clock tower. Mustache, beard, glasses, and then the sign of his birth. Red, blonde hair, black hair like smoke, red here. Doesn't really work, that's communication stuff. We have more there. I just find that interesting at the core there, that these elements are kind of starting to gravitate together a little bit.
Major Bradley had no intelligence.
Bradley had to tell some military stuff.
Container now.
See this again? I'm seeing a lot of that structure. I think it's kind of aligned with that.
Three full loads.
The gross weight discrepancy's still there.
Recheck the pre-stat.
I've given it the auto test, I've given it the manual test, it's still there.
Alright, let me see.
Please, and give me one last. You see any little green monsters in there?
So now is over on this side. I'm not noticing any persistent handedness here. But I am noticing lots of little sort of pairs of red and little like matchy elements clustering together slightly. I'm trying to remember when the first real flood of precog stuff happens in this film. It isn't for a little while, but I don't think it's so far into it.
HMS samples look great.
I do continue to be interested in this situation here. You know.
Section 7 closing down.
Those weight discrepancies still there.
This is great.
Everything.
I'm a sucker for blinking lights. That's why I got into modular synthesizers, or a big piece of it, which I just like how they look, you know. Powell.
Opening at sampler chamber. Pressure system in second mode.
Second mode.
8 procedure completed. Going to program 9.
Program 9. 2. 9. So yeah, that's a little funny. Then right next to the explosion. This is an interesting thing. I'll talk about this probably in another video. This 2 being substitutional with the Roman numeral 2, which is then maybe like an 11. You know, it's an interesting visual, or sort of half visual transform thing. That's not at all the right word. You know what I mean. Derivation. That I see at work actually in the Radiohead material. It's a library card in Amnesiac, that red book, which contains lots of matchy stuff. And the library card has a bunch of dates on it. And I recently found that if you think about that 2 as being like an 11, all the dates work out to permutations of things like this. Every single one of them on that card. So a little bit of potentially odd floating material in the dialogue there. Funny little pin there. So I think oh god. Okay, so the aliens are about to emerge. And I do think I'm going to talk a little bit more tonight, but I'm actually really hungry, so I'm going to go grab a bite. Be back in a second. Okie dokie.
Larry, back off. Back off, Larry. Get away from it. Reverse jazz now.
It's definitely a red phone, right? She's now kind of talking on.
Back second perimeter. Pull back to second.
These blinking lights, it's kind of like they're looking into a star field again. The aliens placing their hands on the glass reminds me quite a bit of material from Arrival. Because it is a bit like people encountering something on a screen at the moment, you know? Images behind glass. Yeah, it sort of starts here. It's very annoying. See it blink there. It's funny, it almost looks like a projector, you know? Interesting. I wonder what's motivating those. Where are those coming from in the scene? There's an interesting frame there. Yeah, right there. Oh, I see what happens is that the glass shatters and sort of momentarily lights up, whatever that is. Well, it would seem to be aligned with the red right hand.
Keep still. Don't move.
Be still, don't move, I think, but I heard it initially as bold move, like in reference to Papa Alien shattering the glass. So right, they whistle, which reminds me a lot of Gizmo, you know? One of many weird, like, you know, seemingly kind of like elements cloned from other popular 80s films. When did this come out? 88, so yeah, it would have been after Gremlins. That's definitely an image of some, like, fire, right? See if we can clean it up a little bit. Aha, is it a rocket launch? I think we answered it, yeah. It looks like a rocket launch. But yeah, so definitely like fuel and explosion and aerial vehicles. Go backwards slightly here. Wait, hold on now. That's where the red reflection is coming from. It's the emergency lights, right? We just saw here next to the clock face. Whoops. Come on. Right here, yeah. Saw it scan again. Okay, so we have another one of those red emergency lights that all the aliens, red thing there, exit. Explosion seems like it happens pretty much in the center of the hallway.
Stay back. Stay away.
Love that guy. Stay away from them. Okay, it's interesting material there. Come on. It's being extraordinarily annoying. Let's get rid of this. Okay. One more time into the hallway, I guess. That's, a water fountain, probably? Stay away from them. Explosions on this kind of surface are definitely notable to me. As is whatever this weird thing is. E12. Well, E is 5. I don't know. It's funny, like, what is that, you know? It's a funny element. And then it explodes right away. It is interesting that flashing red light. I think I'm very interested in that, actually, because of how present it is in the Mac and Me trailer.
Hi, kids. It's me, Ronald McDonald, and I'm on the set of my very first motion picture ever. It's a movie called Mac and Me, and it stars my little friend from outer space here. His name is Mac, and I want to introduce you to him. Mac? And I want to... And it stars my little friend from outer space here.
Yeah. So here's this metal, I guess a light, like that probably, aligned with this gridded rectangle. And here in this gridded rectangle is the red element, Mac and Me. Here we get that sort of thing again. And here we have Ronald, who's red, aligned with that rectangle. This one has some camera equipment and wires. Also has a red Mac and Me thing there. Ronald McDonald is such an Atomic Kid resonator, I think. Just all this yellow and red and white. He's just exactly the color space. We divide the image there. Then over here we have the camera again. Red again. So it's like a little... Whoops. Little match in itself. That's a match. That's a match. That's a match. Since the big camera thing is over here, I think that makes this like a global match as well. As this would basically be then the communication side. Yeah, pretty dimensional just here in the trailer. It's weird how that material manages to appear somehow. And then this light that just radiates like a... Whoops. Like a beacon. Come on now. Oh, right.
His name is Mac, and I want to introduce you to him. Mac?
My controls don't work the same way they do in the other player because we're in YouTube.
Called Mac and Me, and it stars my little friend from outer space here. His name is Mac, and I want to introduce you to him. Mac? Anybody seen Mac? Where'd he go?
Paging Ronald McDonald.
Listen, I've got to go now.
You're wanted in makeup.
Makeup? Me?
And look, like,
It's my little... His name...
like, how is this an image that exists in this trailer? You know, it's just Ronald McDonald's red head having some kind of insane, like, third eye, like, Valis moment, like, shooting red laser light at you. I find it so peculiar because of this holography stuff, which we haven't really talked about yet, but, you know, lasers are a major element of how that technology works. I don't say more about the web won't. Let's see.
They were an average alien family living on their own planet.
Yeah, okay, we don't really need to watch the rest of it. I'm just fascinated by this whole weird scene, you know. The whole thing has a really strange feeling. Weird. Okay. Back to Mac and Me. Oh gosh. 12:42. Yeah. I'm up too late already. So, okay, we made it through about the first 10 minutes of this movie. Not very much activity yet, like I said. I guess maybe it... Yeah, I think around here we do start to see a little bit more stuff. I would say the first major statement of material happens here in this bedroom scene. Yes. So, next time we look at Mac and Me, we will probably get to this, I think. Can't be more than an episode and a half or maybe two away anyway. So, okay. Thank you everyone for hanging out. This was fun as usual, and see you in the future. Bye.